through all of the matches that have been announced so far. There are 8 matches that have been announced. We're going to go through them all. We're going to talk about them. We're going to go into a little bit of detail, share my thoughts on each match, and then we will jump over to the chat and get your thoughts as well. So you can see the chat is on screen, so feel free to put in your thoughts, put in your comments as we're going through these matchups. And as you said, we'll just work through it, and then we'll do a little chat afterwards. So no idea how long we'll be around for. Probably got an hour kind of penciled in mind, but you know what we're like. We tend to get stuck into things and go a little bit longer. And I do love talking, which is why my voice sounds so awful at the moment, because I've certainly done a lot of that over the weekend. But we're going to do a bit more, and we're actually going to start with, you can see the matchups at the top of the screen. So we are going to go through them one by one. So first of all, we've got the Superkliq, which is the Young Bucks and Adam Cole taking on Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage. So we have got this 6-man tag Falls Count Anywhere match. I honestly don't know when this was announced, but it is on the Wikipedia page. We do have the graphic for it, and we are going to be building and starting with this match. Now, I've got the Superkliq winning because I think the Kliq, the Elite, the Super Elite, the Superkliq, whatever name you want to call them, I think they need to be kept quite strong. I kind of feel like there could be a bit of a power struggle. We could see a new leader of this faction. We might need to see the faction kind of regroup a little bit. If they do lose, it's not the end of the world. Spoiler, I expect Kenny to lose. So that's kind of why I'm thinking the Superkliq will win here, because I can't imagine they'll lose this and lose the big one. But unless they're going to go down a road where they need like a big overhaul, they need a big reinvention, like Full Gear was a complete disaster, like they could go that way. But I'm thinking like maybe they're not going to want to make them look too weak, so maybe it's going to be a case where they give the victory to the Superkliq. Plus also, Adam Cole has not been around that much, so he's still got that kind of new feel to him, and I'm just wondering if maybe they wouldn't want to give him a loss here to Jungle Boy Luchasaurus. I mean, in what is basically a bit of a nothing match. So that's why I'm leaning that way. I can see an argument for it going the other way, as I said. It could be that you give it to Jungle Boy Luchasaurus Christian Cage and you go that way, because if you go that way, then you could do that big everything's falling apart, the Elite is crumbling, we need to get a new leader. Like, maybe it goes along those lines. It's hard to say. I think this is a difficult one to know which way they're going to go. But I've gone with the Superkliq, as I said. I think keeping them strong, certainly if they're going to lose the main event, or Kenny loses the main event, I think they'll maybe give them something here instead. Next match, we've got CM Punk taking on Eddie Kingston, and the promo for this on Rampage was fire. It was absolute fire, right? It was absolutely brilliant. And I saw that there was like a couple of videos that came out with, I don't know if it was Jim Cornette or if it was like Wrestling Observer, but I've seen some videos doing the rounds of like people, it might have been 83 weeks, the Eric Bischoff thing. I think it was that actually. Apparently he's got a lot to say about that back and forth, and I haven't heard it. I'd like to hear it. I'd like to get his thoughts on it, just because I thought it was brilliant. A few little things I would definitely change, but nothing massive. I thought it was brilliant. So it'd be interesting to get his thoughts. So just so you know, I've seen a video that looks quite interesting on that promo from Eric Bischoff. But yeah, I like the build for this. I like the match. I keep saying this, right? And I know everyone is going to disagree. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with quite a bit that I've got to say on this card, which is why I want to talk about it, get it out of the way, jump into the chat. That's my plan. So, in regards to this match, I actually think Eddie Kingston should beat CM Punk. I think Eddie Kingston should beat CM Punk. I think that beating CM Punk, it means something. It matters. And the first person to do it is going to get a nice little push, right? They're going to get a good little push. And I think that you could get away with him losing now because he's still kind of a bit rusty. There's still a bit of ring rust. And I think he could lose now and then still go on a good run. And whoever beats him after that good run would get another little push. I actually think you could beat CM Punk a couple of times. You could take the undefeated streak away from him. And you could also then build him up and he could be like, right, I'm in the groove. I'm right back where I was. I'm feeling brilliant. Have him go, good 6 months or whatever. He's like, yeah, I'm feeling like the best in the world now. What happened with Kingston, that was just a blip. And then someone else could beat him. And they will get a push as well. So you could actually get a couple of little pushes from like beating CM Punk. And then obviously, you're up and running then. But I said that about Powerhouse Hobbs, and I still stand by it because no one would have expected it. I think that you could have easily explained it away as like, oh, I'm still not quite up to speed. I think that you're going to give someone, whoever beats him, a lovely push. And I look at someone like Eddie Kingston, and doesn't Eddie Kingston just deserve something like that? Don't you look at Eddie Kingston and think, Matt, he has toiled away, right, in the backwaters of wrestling, if you will. Yeah, I know he's gone around, he's been in NWA, he's done loads of things, Ring of Honor, blah, 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 blah. But, he has had to survive largely on just scraps. And didn't he even say that he had to, like, almost sell his home during, like, the pandemic, during that promo with CM Punk? Like, Eddie Kingston is as real as it gets. Yeah, his promos are fantastic. His matches, if you give him time, and it's not just like a little throwaway thing, are fantastic. This guy, he deserves something. He deserves the AEW contract that he's got. But, I mean, like, I can't think of really anyone better for CM Punk to put over. It's not happening, right? I've got CM Punk winning, but I'm just trying to make a case for if Eddie Kingston won. I think that would be brilliant. I think it would catch everyone off guard. I think that who is more deserving than Eddie Kingston? He needs something to make him feel legit, and he could dine for the next 12 months off beating CM Punk. Do you remember how Brock went around after he ended the streak? Well, I mean, like, Eddie Kingston, he could be the Punk killer. Do you know what I mean? Like, he could go around and dine on that for the next 12 months. You are really giving him, if you do that, a rocket. And I love him. I love Eddie. I think Eddie's one of the people on the roster that makes me tune into AEW. And I would have no problems if they went that way. Catch everyone off guard. It'd be a big shock. But they won't. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant talking about it because they won't, which is fine. I get it. It's CM Punk. They're building him up for, like, I don't know, MJF or whatever. I just think there's an argument to be had. But I have got CM Punk anyway, so. Vape Ross Vape said Kingston needs the win. CM Punk can lose. I do agree 100%. Vape Ross Vape, shout out to you, buddy. As I said, some of these opinions that I've got will split opinion. I just think, like, I think the thing is, I would like to be kept surprised. There are a few matches here, and I do look at, not all of them by any means. As I said, that first one I think is quite hard to call. I don't know if they're going to give it to the Superkliq or if they're going to give it to Christian, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus, so I don't know which way they'll go there. There's a few here you look at and you go, I'm pretty sure I know where this is going. This is one of those fights. I do look at this match and go, pretty sure I know where this is going. It's going with CM Punk. And I think that might be hurting CM Punk a little bit, actually. The fact that, like, he's going to turn up, he's going to win, his match is a bit predictable. You don't really get that feeling now of, I need to tune in to see this because something could happen. Like, I need to tune in and watch this. I'm tuning in for Eddie Kingston. I'm tuning into this for Eddie Kingston getting his shot at someone on the scale of CM Punk. This is a great match for Eddie Kingston. It's a great match for CM Punk as well. But I don't think the result is in any doubt. So, yeah, rather than going around in circles, we will move on. But just thought I'd throw that out there. This is one that's a little tricky. This is one that's a bit harder to call and get a read on. We've got Darby Allin taking on MJF. And this one you could go either way on. I think ultimately Darby will win the feud, but I don't know that this match is the end of a feud. I don't think this is one and done. But saying that, they don't tend to keep going back to the same things again and again and again. They're actually really good when it comes to rematches. AEW do a decent job of not kind of keep coming back to things. They'll like change it somehow. It might be that it gets a different stipulation or, you know, something along those lines. But it's not like we're going to tune into Dynamite and get a Full Gear rematch on Dynamite. That is actually a real positive of AEW. Like, there's a few things that they do that you might not kind of notice because, well, they don't do them. And, you know, loads of just pointless rematches is absolutely one thing they do not do. So, I'm a bit torn. I mean, I'm leaning to Darby because I think he wins this feud. And I really don't know how long they would keep this going for before they, like, move on to something else. It might be building towards, like, Sting and Darby versus MJF and Wardlow. I also think that MJF Wardlow is probably a bigger feud that's coming on the horizon. I don't know how close we are to MJF versus Wardlow, but it's certainly been teased quite a bit. So I feel like it's not that far away, probably like early next year. So they might, I don't want to say string this out, but it might be more than just this match. So I'm going with Darby winning. I'm going to go with Darby winning. But honestly, it could be that MJF cheats and then we get like a rematch. But they don't tend to do that too much. You don't tend to get like rematches and like loads of different variations of the same match. So again, I like this match. There's a couple of matches here that I really like. I'm looking forward to CM Punk, Eddie Kingston. I like Eddie Kingston. I like CM Punk, but I like Eddie Kingston. I liked him in NWA. He was one of my favorites there, and I was really pleased when he came over and, you know, got the opportunity in AEW. The other thing with Kingston is that I wasn't really a big fan of him with Moxley. I know many people were, but I just kind of like Kingston out on his own. That tag team didn't really do anything for me. I didn't really get excited when they were having matches. I think I'd just like to see Eddie Kingston come down and raise hell on his own, not be a little overshadowed, dare I say, by Moxley. So I like Kingston on his own. This is the Kingston I prefer. So I like that match. I like this match. I don't know which way it's going to go. And this, I think when we do get to like the conversation part, I think this is probably one of the matches that we can really, get stuck into. The build for this, I think, has been okay. It's been okay. MJF promos seem to be... They're good, but they lack a little wit. If you hear a MJF promo and compare it to like a Jericho promo, like Jericho tends to have some real zingers. Like MJF is pretty much heel 101. He'll lay into how ugly the people are. He'll lay into how rubbish the local sports team are. Sometimes he'll push the boundaries with, and he was like saying some stuff about Pillman and, all of that kind of stuff. Like he'll push those kind of boundaries, but it can lack a little bit of wit. It can lack those lines sometimes. Sometimes he drops lines that makes you go, they're a bit sharp, but it's not often he drops a line that makes me go, that's good. That's good. Like, oh, he got me with that one. But Jericho has got the ability to do that. Jericho's got the ability to drop those kind of witty one-liners, those kind of zingers, if you will, where, there's quick responses. I think it comes down to, like, the personality and if you can kind of, think on your feet that way. I think Jericho is, one of the best of all time. So, for me, I would say that MJF is a good promo, but there's still a few levels that he can go. So, the build for this has been all right. Darby's largely just been sat in the Stan's looking a bit moody. He's basically this generation Sting, isn't he? Which is why they're together. So I do like them both. They are both the future. I like the match because it is like a who's going to be the face of the company kind of a thing. So I like it. It's good. This next one, I'm sorry. I should like this next one. This next one should scream me, and it doesn't really. This is the Inner Circle taking on Scorpion Sky, Ethan Page, American Top Team. My problem with this match is the problem I've had all throughout this whole feud, and that is that the people that are involved here, like Arlovsky and Dos Santos and all these people that are involved, they would murder every single one of the Inner Circle, right? We are talking about some of the baddest men on the planet. We are. This isn't like fun and games and all this kind of. This is like people that have trained extensively to be fighting machines. These are people that will be able to take on Marines, that will be able to take on the best in the army. This is the best of the best. These are like the ultimate cage fighters. You lock them in a cage and they go to work. They will outstrike you. They will out-wrestle you. They will find submissions. They will choke you out. They will do whatever they want to do. They are scary, scary people. So to think that Sammy Guevara, even Jake Hager, right, who's got a few wins in Bellator being a kind of smaller company second to the UFC, to think that, like, or Jericho at his age as well. I mean, even if it wasn't at his age, like, I just can't buy it. I just can't suspend that disbelief. I can't turn that part of my brain off to just go, let's watch and see how this goes. Like, I genuinely, I don't know who's winning this. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to book this. I mean, honestly, it should be an absolute destruction for American Top Team. American Top Team should absolutely destroy. They don't even need Scorpion Sky. This should be 5-on-2. That's what this match should be. It should be 5. It should be a street fight where it's Hager, Jericho, Sammy, Ortiz, Santana, just versus like whatever. I don't even know the MMA fighters that are involved. I think it is Arlovsky. Is it those ones on screen? I'm guessing it is. I can't remember who they selected. I remember at one point Paige Van Zandt was in the conversation. So I think this has always been my problem with it. And I think that you can get away with using like MMA fighters. I think you could use someone, and I would have no problem with like someone taking on Hager, for example, and doing that fight. You could build it, and you could show Hager training and get him ready for a fight, and him taking on like Arlovsky or a Legends, one of those kind of big names. But not this. This doesn't do it. This I just cannot suspend my disbelief on this one. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know which way they're going to go. I think there's normally a fight that kind of irritates me on the card, and there are a couple on this card. This is going to be one. So this one, I'm going to say isn't for me, which is crazy because it is for me, isn't it? Like, they've booked this, I think, for me. I mean, they have put some MMA legends on this card to try and, bring their fan base in. Oh, you like these guys? Check them out. They're going to be in AEW. You like American Top Team? Well, check it out. They're going to be on Full Gear. Well, I like American Top Team. I like UFC. I think this is not it. This is not it. So Inner Circle win? I don't know. Inner Circle win. They destroy them all. They destroy them all in a street fight. They beat them all up. Inner Circle win. And I don't know. Stand over them chanting UFC sucks. I don't know. Chanting AEW. Whatever. So, I'll go Inner Circle. I don't know. Why would the I don't know. Why would the heels win this? Why would they allow the heels to talk trash about them and then let them win? I don't think they will. So, right, next, let's go to something better. Let's go to something much better. I mean, it's we're going to a different universe right now, right? I mean, this is how much better this is. We are talking about what could be the best in-ring male wrestler right now in Bryan Danielson, right? Because this is Bryan Danielson with the chains off. This is Bryan Danielson doing the stuff that I think he always wanted to do in WWE, but he always had to do the WWE style. They've got certain banned moves. They've got certain, they're not really too bothered about the actual in-ring matches. You have to go through what you want to do with the producer backstage that's going to have input on it. This feels like this is Bryan Danielson doing what Bryan Danielson wants to do, painting the pictures that Bryan Danielson wants to paint, and they are masterpieces. The best for me AEW match of the year is Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega, and that match I just thought was wonderful. It was absolutely brilliant. It was everything that you hoped that those two meeting in a ring would actually be. And I really, really respect what he's doing in AEW, and I really respect the fact that AEW are allowing him to kind of present himself in this manner. Now, without just swooning over Bryan Danielson for the next 20-odd minutes, right? We need to talk about Miro, because he is not meant to be in this match. It's meant to be, we think, Jon Moxley. Obviously, Jon Moxley is going through problems at the moment, so he's not here. And so we've got Miro. I don't know who wins, right? This is a really interesting one, because I think it's Bryan Danielson. But if Hangman wins later, and spoiler, I think he will, then are we going to need a heel? Are we really going to do Hangman versus Bryan Danielson? Is that what we're going to do? We're going to do Hangman versus Bryan. I mean, it'll be a great match, and you can do it. Face versus face is no problem. I mean, heel versus heel is, because who do you root for? But face versus face, you might split the crowd, but it's not the biggest problem. But are they really going to do that? I don't know. I wonder if Moxley was meant to win this. Moxley wins this. You've got Hangman winning later, and you get Hangman versus Moxley, which is clean. It makes sense. It's face versus heel. It's like tick, 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 tick. But would they have Bryan Danielson lose? But is it a problem if he loses? I don't know that it is a problem. And in all fairness, if he gets to the title, he's going to have to probably lose then anyway, because I don't think, if it is going to be Bryan Danielson versus Hangman, I don't think Bryan Danielson's going to be taking the title from him. So we must be getting close to Bryan Danielson losing. I don't think he's going to beat the champion, even if unless it's Kenny. Unless Kenny retains and then you do Kenny versus Bryan. I wonder if, and this is a big pondering right now, right? You're witnessing a big pondering. I wonder if Moxley, having his troubles, changes the planned result of Omega versus Hangman. I wonder if they keep it on Omega and they do Omega versus Bryan Danielson. And I wonder if the original plan was Hangman versus Moxley. You could do Hangman versus Miro. You could do that. Or you keep the title on Kenny and you do Kenny versus Bryan Danielson again, but this time for the title. And maybe this time Bryan Danielson wins. I think this is a bit tricky. I think this is tricky. This is going to be another one that we're going to have healthy debate about, and I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it. Vape Ross Vape said Miro and Dragon are so much better in AEW. Go Miro. You see, he's not even meant to be in this tournament, so it's hard to pick Miro because he's not meant to be here. He was not in this tournament. We know for a fact they have no plans on him being the number one contender. They don't have those plans. So you might look at it and go, well, yeah, it's Bryan Danielson then. But what if it was meant to be Moxley? What if it's meant to be Moxley because they need a heel? You can't go with Bryan Danielson then. You'd have to just pull the trigger on Miro. And Miro's deserving. I mean, it is no problem to do Hangman versus Miro. No, it's a great match. It's a great match. And is Miro the one that's going to beat Bryan Danielson? Does it matter? I'm going to go Miro. I'm going to say that Miro wins because I think Hangman wins. So if Hangman wins, I don't think they do Hangman versus Bryan Danielson. I don't think they do. So I think they do Hangman versus Miro. I love this match, though. I've said there's a couple of matches here. A couple of matches like Darby MJF and Bryan Danielson versus Miro and CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston. I am really looking forward to these. Can't quite get a read on it. We'll come back to it and we'll see what people have got to say on that. Right, we've got 3 more, I believe, to do, and then we will jump to the chat. Next up, we've got... this one's a bit tricky to get a read on, actually, as well. We've got Lucha Bros versus FTR. Now, I'm not the biggest Lucha Bros fan. I don't really like their style of wrestling. But I do like FTR. And I'm kind of half into this, I suppose, because I'm not really into the Lucha Bros, but I am into FTR. And so I'm kind of thinking, like, if it's going to be, let's do every move known to man at 100 million miles an hour, I'm not interested, right? But if it's going to be, like, good, well-built, well-paced kind of a match, and that you can have the occasional high spot, but it actually helps the match, and it helps the match get to the next stage that it needs to get to, and there's a bit of selling, and, you know, that kind of psychology. If you've got that side of it, which is what FTR tend to bring, then I'm into it. So I can't quite tell which way it's going to go. It might be a bit of everything. It might be a bit of both. So can't get a read on it. And again, which way do they go? I mean, both have got belts at the moment. This is for the AEW World titles, tag titles. I kind of think, like, would you not have them on different tag teams as well? That way you've got 2 teams that are running around as champions. Do you need to have them on the same team? If FTR win, they get both belts. If Lucha Bros win, I think they only retain the AEW belt. I don't think they get the AAA ones. So, for that reason, I'm going to say Lucha Bros. I say Lucha Bros win because, as I said, I think I'm right in saying this is just for the AEW titles. So, if Lucha Bros win, they get to keep theirs. FTR keep theirs. But if FTR win, then they get both, and I don't see why you would do that. Richard K said, with all these WWE releases, do you think Vince is gearing up to sell WWE? No. Listening to what Nick Khan had to say, he said that they are not looking to sell. So I certainly wouldn't expect them to announce anything anytime soon. Could in 12 months' time that be different? Maybe. I don't think they would. There's no way they would sell to Tony Khan. There's no way they would sell to Tony Khan. Not a chance, right? Because Vince's pride would not allow him to do that. So if they were, then it would go to someone like Disney, or it would go to, you know, a big conglomerate kind of big corporation. It wouldn't go to Tony Khan, if that's what you were thinking. But, I mean, Nick Khan has said they're not looking to sell anyway. So, no. I think the releases are more to do with the fact they tied everyone down to stupid contracts like last year and the year before. So that AEW couldn't get that talent. And now all of a sudden they're looking at it going, wow, we're spending a lot of money. Wow, that is a big number. And we could probably bring that down. So it's budget cuts, but it's only budget cuts because they messed it up before. So Rich K said, and if he is going to sell, don't think he's selling. Do you think Tony Khan will purchase? No. And WWE becomes AEW? No. So we get AEW Raw? No. AEW SmackDown? Nope. And stuff. You can have stuff. So that's my thoughts on that. Right. Next up, we have got Dr. Britt Baker taking on Ty Conti right now. I've got a little problem with this. I don't think they've built up Conti very well. I do not see this as like some mega match. I don't see this as a dream match. I don't see this as a match that everyone's foaming at the mouth to get at, you know? I don't think everyone's looking at this going, oh my God, it's finally happening. The day has come. Yeah? Put the kids to bed. Love, settle down in front of the TV. Close the curtains. Tell the neighbours. Britt Baker is taking on Conti. I mean, could we not have found better? I mean, like, Conti, he's all right, but I don't know. Perhaps this is one for, like, AEW fans. Perhaps AEW fans are, like, doing cartwheels down the street for this, but why is it not Thunder Rosa? Why is it not Thunder Rosa? Or why is it not something a bit more intriguing? So, Britt Baker wins. That's how I feel about it. I mean, like, I just want this to be short. I want us to move on with our lives. Britt Baker wins. They'll probably give Conti, you know, some offense, whatever, but I can't see this being a classic. I don't think this goes long. I'm not really that bothered by it, to be honest. I think they could have done a lot better with this match. Richard said, imagine if Vince sold WWE to Ted Turner and Ted Turner turned WWE into WCW, and then you had Billionaire Ted versus Billionaire Tony. I don't even know what Ted Turner does anymore. Is Ted? I know that. Well, hang on. I mean, like, my knowledge of how it all works network-wise is a little limited. But TNT, is that not Turner Network anyway? So, I mean, if Ted Turner bought it, what network would he put it on? Like, he would go away from TNT, because he doesn't own that anymore, does he? So, I don't know. That's a whole kind of wormhole that you could go down, but it ain't happening. So, I wouldn't worry about it. Ted Turner's not in the wrestling business now, and he had a good go at it in the 90s, and I think he's happily moved on. Yeah, so I think he's doing something different now. Our final match then. This is match number 8. And I've got another little niggle about this. I've got a few niggles on this card. Like, there's matches here that are really good. Let's not, you know, lose sight of that. But my little niggle with this here is that I think this is obvious who's winning. I think it's Hangman. I think Hangman wins. I will love it if he doesn't. I will love it if he doesn't. Because everyone is like, this is it. Hangman's winning. Hangman's getting the belt. It's time. All this. And then if they pull that swerve on you, if they take you off in a different direction, brilliant. I'd love that. I mean, imagine if Kenny wins this. Imagine Kenny wins this. Everyone's gutted. Lights go out on the stages, Windham. And that's how the show ends. Imagine that. You can get the belt will find its way to Hangman at some point. Hangman is an absolute bona fide, guaranteed future AEW World Champion. You can take it to the bank, right? It is happening, right? Take any doubt out of your mind. It is happening, right? My point is, it does not have to be at this show, which feels rushed to me. I said this on an AEW Dynamite, and everyone was like, rushed? Like, he lost the first ever AEW Championship match against, like, Jericho, or, you know, years ago. They've been building this for years. But my counterpoint would be, you know, I hear you, but he's also been away for ages because he was on paternity. And before that, he was just kind of kicking around. So it's not been years of him in main events trying and failing, has it? It's been years of him just bobbing around, not doing that much. Like, doing some stuff with the Dark Order, having a few feuds, just kind of being lower down the card. And now all of a sudden it's like he goes off on paternity, comes back in the match that he wins to get a number one contender. In the ladder match, he comes back as the Joker, gets the chip, gets this title opportunity. It's like, so he bobs around the mid card, yeah, goes off on paternity, comes back, your number one contender, and now here's the match, and now you can have the. It's like this story has been so good. Like it goes all the way back to the New Japan days. Like the story, like really kind of goes all the way back there, and him not feeling good enough to be in the Elite, and then obviously the drinking. He was in the tag team with Kenny. Like it's been a great story. And they've told it very, very well. My only grumble is that this bit here has felt rushed. This bit here, and I know you can't help the fact that he's gone on paternity, and maybe if he hadn't have gone on paternity, you could have told a better story, and you could have had him built him a little better. But for me, this just feels a bit rushed. It feels really predictable. I feel like Hangman's winning. As soon as it happens, I'm telling you now, I'll be like, yeah, okay, they've done it. I'm sure the match is going to be insane. I've got no doubt that the match is going to be like a match of the year contender. I'm really looking forward to the match. But I'm going to be lying if I'm going to tell you that I'm going to have this big emotional reaction seeing what I think is a predictable outcome happen. I will have a bigger reaction, and I'll have more of a surprise if they actually go the other way and put it on Kenny Omega. If they keep it on Kenny and put another obstacle in the way of Hangman, then it'll be like, wow, well, when is he going to get the belt? Or, do you know what I mean? But I don't think this, again, all irrelevant. I'm not the booker of AEW. Tony Khan is. I think Tony Khan thinks this is the time, and, he could be right, everything's saying that everyone's desperate for it, so put the title on Hangman. I think Hangman wins this, as I've said all throughout this. The only thing I would add, right, and I think it can be difficult for people sometimes to appreciate, but the money is in the chase. The money is in the chase. So if you are chasing the title, and if you want to see this guy succeed, the money is in seeing him going after the belt, right? Once he's got it, it's a very, very different scenario. I mean, look at Kofi Mania. Everyone was desperate for Kofi and to get the belt and win the title. He wins the title, and then his title run's a bit like, I mean, they could have done better creatively. I've got no qualms about that. But there's no denying that the red hot Kofi Mania fever was all to do with him getting to the title, not when he got the title. And the same with Daniel Bryan, the yes movement, the passion that drove him to WrestleMania 30, and he gets the belt. There's still yeses, of course there are, because it's massively over, but it's not the same. If you talk about that time, you talk about Occupy Raw, you talk about all the times he won or tried to win the title at the pay-per-views leading up to it. You don't necessarily talk about what happened when he got the belt. And I feel like this is going to be the same with Hangman. I think the money is in Hangman chasing the title. The money is in Hangman trying to get the belt and failing and picking himself back up and trying to find a different way towards the title. And the crowd are with him and they're desperate for it. And the money is there. Once he gets it, my concern is that it ain't going to feel the same. It ain't going to be the same. He'll have supporters. People will be with him. It's tricky being a face champion. So I think they go with him. I think the match is going to be brilliant. And I think that, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how his title reign goes. I'm hoping that AEW have got some really, really good creative ideas in mind for what they're going to do when Hangman becomes champion. When Hangman becomes champion, I'm hoping they've got these really good, juicy ideas of things that are going to be, they're going to really help his title reign feel fresh. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got up their sleeves. The other thing we need to talk about, I don't have a graphic for this, of course, is Windham. Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda. And I think, this is something I was going to do in the chat, actually. And I'll do it now. Do you think, you know what I'm going to ask? Do you think Windham debuts at AEW Full Gear. Now, again, we did this on one of our watch-alongs, yeah? And again, I have to stress there is a big difference between do you think he's going to do this, right? And do you want him to do this? There's a big difference. The question is, do you think he is going to debut at AEW Full Gear? Not do you want him to, because I'd imagine pretty much 100% of people want him to. But do you think he's going to? Or are they saving him for a Dynamite, a Rampage, a special that's coming up? Or is this it? Is this where we get him? So I would say a lot of people have been under the impression for quite a while this is where he is going to debut. So certainly, the 90-day non-compete and everything has been seemingly building up to him debuting at AEW Full Gear. But what do you think? It'll be good just to get a read, Do you think after the show ends, we've seen Windham? That's the question. The other interesting question is that, because I do. I think this is it. I mean, I don't know what you would save him for. I think this show, they always try to give the fans a little surprise. They always try to give the fans a moment. There is no mystery partner, Joker. There's nothing like that. There's nothing on the show that's already got a little surprise attached to it. To my knowledge, like, these are the matches, and there's no Joker. There's nothing like that. So I do look at this and think, well, maybe that means that they are just going to throw in Windham, and that's going to be your surprise. But so I'm leaning towards we will. I don't know where he debuts. I don't know how he debuts. I don't know what character he's debuting as, or, I mean, all of this is stuff that we can kind of get our teeth into in a second, because it's very interesting stuff. It's very interesting stuff because, this is the hot topic, isn't it? This is what people, or certainly a lot of people in our community want to talk about, is Windham. How does he debut? Where does he debut? What is he going to debut? And the other thing as well is that he's been, we think, filming. Obviously, we've seen him at, outside that, is it Warner Brothers? Outside one of their kind of recording studios. And the question would be, what has he been filming? Is it a film? Is it vignettes? What's he been filming? So, it's interesting because maybe we don't see him at AEW Full Gear, but perhaps we get something else. Maybe there's an interruption. Maybe there's a video package. Maybe after a match, a video package is played. I don't know if you can remember how the Funhouse was introduced, but it was a shot of a box, and you had this spooky music in the background, and the camera kind of came in on the box, and then out the top of the box burst Mercy, and I think he started laughing, the Mercy the Buzzard, and that was it. And then I think you had that for a couple of weeks, and then I think we got a different one, which again was you went past a doll's house, so the camera went spooky music again, and you saw a doll's house, slowly went past. I think you saw a lot of the people had foil wrapped around them, and it went past there, and then it went to a rocking chair that was rocking, and it had Abby the Witch sat in it, and she was just sat there kind of rocking backwards and forwards, and I think she laughs as well, and then that's the end of that, and you get that for a couple of weeks. I think that was 4 weeks. I think we had both of them for 2 weeks each, something like that, and then boom, Funhouse arrived. Episode 1 was week 5, and then we ended up getting 7 weeks of that. So they got 3 months worth of stuff out of, and he wasn't there. He didn't wrestle a single match. I wonder if they go down that road. Because if you think about it, they really don't need someone to wrestle matches. They've got a roster that's pretty stacked. They don't really need someone to do matches. It's not like we need... I don't think anyone is desperately waiting. I could be wrong. But I don't think anyone is desperately waiting for Windham to wrestle. I think what they're waiting for is to see him return, see what his creation is, see if there's things that for fans to, pick apart, and little Easter eggs, and maybe vignettes, or maybe there's a Wyatt family, or maybe there's a new Fiend, or I think people are waiting for all of that. Obviously, like, his entrance and his entrance music and all of that is going to be a factor as well. Of course it is. But I don't think people are like, I want to see him wrestle week after week after week. I don't think that's what people are waiting for. So they could actually get away with him not wrestling for quite a long time. Amazingly, he's like a wrestler that people don't really watch for the wrestling. When you talk about Bray, you don't talk about his classic matches. You talk about the Funhouse, and you talk about the puppets, and you talk about the imagery and the stuff that you can actually read into in the Easter eggs and the burnt fiend and, all this kind of stuff. So that whole universe, if you will. So I wonder if they don't maybe start to present that, whatever it is. So it's going to be interesting, man, and we'll see, won't we? I mean, as I said, I think he is going to be there. I think they will bring him in at that point. So I don't think it's concrete. I don't know that I would go as far as to say it's 100. Oh, yeah, he's there. 100%. He's there. The only thing I would say is that he has started talking about how he's going to speak to us soon. I'll see you soon. Be patient. Stuff like this, So he's definitely... We're going to hear from him soon. He will break his silence. So it does kind of lean towards, it is going to be at Full Gear. But equally, and I am almost finished, but equally, I believe he's been working on a podcast. And there's like a Cult of Windham podcast, which I don't really know much about, to be honest. But it wouldn't surprise me if this Cult of Windham podcast is where he starts really sharing a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And maybe he just appears there and we don't get him in AEW yet. Maybe because it would actually probably do AEW. Well, it's hard to say, isn't it? Would it do AEW well to maybe have a few shows where they don't give you any surprises? I don't think it's good that every single show you're like, what's the surprise going to be? Like, surprises are a big, important part of wrestling, but you can't keep bringing people in. You just can't keep bringing people in. Like, maybe the quality of the stories, the creative, and the matches should be the showcase. And maybe you do a few shows where it's that, and you don't have to rely on surprises. But it's no denying, people definitely would want him to be at this show, and either way, I think he will be. I think they will go with Windham being at this show. I don't know in what manner. Let's jump into the chat, see what people are saying. I talk about Husky Harris, the Ferrari engine in a Sherman tank, says Sean. I think a video package is maybe possible, says Austin. I personally don't like the Funhouse. AEW can't bring him because too much roster. TNA already in talks with him last couple of months ago. I heard that they were never in talks. They wanted to get in talks with him, but they couldn't get a hold of him. Or not that they couldn't get a hold of him. I don't think he's interested. I mean, which I can understand, to be honest, because, if you can't be in the big company of WWE, which is, forget like that it's WWE. It is the big company. It has the bigger reach. You go in, you get figures made of you. You're in video games. You're more in the public eye. Yet for your brand, it's the best place to be, right? Well, forget it's WWE, but you get my point. Like video games, figures, T-shirts, merch, wonderful exposure all over the world. Yeah. I mean, you are in the shop window if you are regular on TV in WWE. if you can't go there, then AEW is your next best option at the moment, because Dynamite's ratings are pretty good, pretty solid, around 1 million. Then you've got Rampage, which I don't actually know what that's been getting recently. About 750, 800, something like that, 1,000. And that is, it's all right for a second show. It's just in a bad time slot. If they can ever move it, they'll do much better. And who knows, ultimately they might get a good time slot where they can go up against Raw, go up against SmackDown. We'll see what the future holds for them. But they've got figures. They've got a video game coming out. They're maybe not in as many markets, and the viewership isn't as high. But if you can't be in WWE, AEW is your next best bet. So I think that's better than going to Impact, because I think Impact is going to be, it's smaller, it's not viewed by as many people. They might be willing to give you a good wage, a really solid wage, but money isn't everything. And I would imagine Bray's not hurting for money, having been in WWE for so long. Apparently his contract was pretty juicy, so... Gordon said, I think Windham will build his character on Twitter first, outside of the company. That way he owns the character. It's not a company-owned one. That's a really good point, actually, because obviously he can't use the Fiend. He can't use the Funhouse. He can't use the puppets. That whole universe that he created, he can't use. And I would wonder, actually, it's a good point that by Gordon. Shout out to you. It's a good point, because I wonder if that was part of the negotiations. I wonder if the negotiations that he had with Tony Khan were, I'll come in and I'll work for you, but if I do, I think, first of all, he's going to want some kind of creative control. I really do. I think that whatever he creates, he strikes me as being very possessive over what he creates. I don't think there's much leeway there. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's much leeway there for other people to come in. I mean, I thought it was quite eye-opening that even people close to Bray said he wanted to play the puppets, what come to life. He wanted to play them, and obviously we hear that there's a lot of talk that he had creative falling outs backstage. I mean, who doesn't at WWE? So I would think there would be a degree of him wanting creative control, which might be a problem, might not be a problem. Depends kind of where we draw the line. I mean, if I was Tony Khan, I think I'd be like, you can have creative control, but only if it is for you. I can't give you creative control where you're booking your own matches, or where you're kind of dictating other people. The whole, if they face me, they now have to change heel, or they have to change face, or that kind of thing. You're impacting other people. I can't go that far. That's kind of my red line, really. You can do whatever you want. You want to do a different type of Funhouse, a different type of Wyatt family. You want to have puppets. You want to do what you want, right? I can work with you on that, because that's your universe. But once you're impacting others, that's where we're struggling now. So that would be what I would. That's what I would sit down with him and say. That's if I owned a wrestling company, that's kind of a ballpark of where I would be. You can do what you want, build what you want, Easter eggs and all that kind of stuff that the fans love, but I can't go as far as allowing you to dictate other people's careers. So to that regard, he would not have the ability to veto if I wanted him to lose to Goldberg, which I never would. But I just don't. I couldn't have that. I couldn't have it where he tells me who he's going to win and lose to. That wouldn't work for me. So, and I don't know if it'll work for Tony Khan, to be honest. So, all of that side is going to be very interesting. If he does go to AEW, I hope one day we find out what was negotiated, because I think what was just mentioned there is right. I think there will be a good amount of terms that are put into the contract that he wants, so that he gets the rights to the character, he gets some creative control, and he gets a lot more than what he was getting in WWE. Warner Media own TNT and are massively involved in AEW. They stopped the Elite wearing Squid Games last week. They also own Warner Brothers, so wouldn't be surprised if Bray was filming AEW things, says Daniel. Tony will let him have control of his character. He's not Vince, says Melvin H. 007 in the chat. High Flyer said, I like that fans are on edge if Wyatt will go to AEW, because for all we know, all the media have covered up that he's signed with all the TK comments. That he's signed with all the TK comments, the Tony Khan comments. Well, Tony Khan said that he hadn't spoke to him, didn't he? Not that long ago. I don't know how much of that I believe. I mean, if Tony Khan has lied there, it's a little white lie to throw us off the scent kind of a thing. It's not a big problem, is it? But I don't know if that's true. If it's not true, I don't know if he's maybe been speaking to someone else in AEW or what it is. I mean, who knows? Bray might even want to just take a break. I mean, I know he's not done loads this year, and obviously we haven't really found out much about that either. So maybe he doesn't want a break. Maybe he feels like he's had a long enough break. Certainly feels like he's working on things, but it's difficult, isn't it? It's hard to know what he's going to come back with. But I think that's what makes the conversation so interesting. So I'm feeling pretty good he's back at Full Gear. I think I'm feeling pretty good about that. But what he returns with, not a clue. Not a clue. Pretty sure Sean Ross Sapp said that he could use his old name a few months back. WWE only trademarked one version of the name, The Fiend, so he could come back as Fiend if he wants to. Well, I don't know about that. I wouldn't, to be honest, because if he comes back as Fiend, I would imagine there would still be legal problems, which he might win, but I'd imagine there'll be legal problems. I can imagine WWE taking him to court, allowing him to not use it until it's sorted. It could get messy all the same. Not only that, but he wouldn't be able to have the same look. I mean, I'm sure the mask and everything is theirs. So, you know, he'd have to have something that's similar but different. And you're always going to be compared to The Fiend. If he comes in with, like, you know, Windham's Playhouse, like, it's going to be compared to the Funhouse. Now, if it's as good, then that might not be a problem, but it's going to be hard. And plus also, as I said, if WWE, I think, can shut that kind of a thing down and say it's too similar to what we own, it's too similar to our, you know, you're infringing on our copyright, you're infringing on our trademarks, they could take it to court and it could all get messy. I don't know if it's not just better, cleaner for him to just come up and create something new, because I'm sure he can. You know, he's a very creative person, so I'm sure that he could come up with something brand new. Otherwise, you do run the risk of that. Don't know. That's interesting. I don't know that if that's true. I don't know, but it's very interesting. I think Windham brackets Bray should debut on Dynamite, like how they did with Malachi, so that it doesn't ruin Hangman's moment, says Ryan. Graham said, I want all these wrestlers to find new companies, but I feel AEW is getting too top-heavy. If you add Windham, Braun, Lee, Cross, Lethal, O'Reilly, wrestlers will get lost, just like in WWE. Do you think someone else might debut Samoa Joe? I don't think Joe's left, has he? Has Joe gone from WWE? I mean, he had gone, and then he came back to NXT, and then he was the champion, and then NXT 2.0 started, and he had picked up an injury, so he had to relinquish the title. I didn't hear that he'd been cut again, so I think as far as I know, he's under like an NXT contract. So I think I'm right in saying he's still under an NXT contract. Tony is a cringe person. Never liked him when he is complaining about WWE views, says Delwyn. I could see Windham doing a huge Dark Order feud. Okay, yeah. I think he debuts either physically or with a video package, says Airflow Games. Rye, shout out to you, my friends. Your voice sounds better than earlier in the day. Yeah, I think it's doing all right. It's doing all right. I still haven't slept, in all fairness, today. We did a massive UFC stream last night. We've done a couple of football matches earlier today, and I think they've helped my voice come back, so we're doing all right. Did you see that Cross responded to Windham on Twitter and mentioned about the meeting once again in the future, and Windham mentioned of grovelling equals fall and pray? Hang on, what do you mean? Erase your mind. Windham mentioned of grovelling equals fall and pray. I haven't seen it. It's been a pretty full-on weekend for me. So, I mean, that's interesting. I don't know what you mean by the end bit. Windham mention of grovelling equals fall and pray. Delwyn said he came back WWE and is injured. Right. Tay said, did you see on Rampage the win, draw, and lose graphic for Bryan had 1 in the last column instead of a draw? No. James Chadwick said Samoa Joe is still in WWE. Are any New Japan talents in the States next week, says Daniel. I have no idea. They haven't announced anything for AEW. Are you wondering if we might get like a Okada or something like that, or Naito or on the show? Are you thinking along those lines? He wore AEW cleats today before the game. Who did? Stephen Diggs to AEW. He wore AEW cleats. I don't know who that is. So there we go. If you are a Stephen Diggs fan, he wore AEW cleats. So that's exciting. Do you think Windham debuts middle of the show or end of the show? Middle. I agree that if Hangman's winning, why would you have Hangman win and then bring out Windham? So I would say middle. Say middle. You might even want to do it earlier, because then obviously if that happens, then boom, you're getting amazing press. You know, Windham's just debuted in AEW Full Gear, and you might get people going, "Oh my God, that's tonight. Let's go and put that on." So I wonder. I don't know. I would imagine early to middle, and then later you've got the Hangman moment. So I'm thinking it'll be something like that. Bo Dallas and Bray to debut as Cult of Windham would make my year, says Michael. Airflow Games said, I think Hangman winning won't feel as special because it has been rushed recently. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of AEW fans. I mean, I've had this conversation, so I know there's people that feel different to me on this. That, as I said earlier, they feel that it was built up over a couple of years. He's already had a title shot and it hasn't worked out. I think, did he get a title shot against Kenny before and he fell short? And so I think to people, they're like, yeah, this is his time. And there's no denying that they've managed. I mean, the pop that he keeps getting when he comes out is huge. He keeps getting massive, massive pops. So there's no denying they've built it well. There's no denying that they've, you know, he's over. Like, you know, he's in a really good place for them to pull the trigger. I just think that it's a bit predictable. It's the predictable thing that bugs me. That's my only issue with it. But I mean, it's difficult because, like, it's hard to make it not predictable. Like, really, whenever he's going to get a title match, he's gonna you know I'm going to be thinking he's going to win it. They're going to do it now. So yeah, it is tricky. It is difficult. I just think there is a way. I think there is a way. But, hey, it is what it is. We'll see how it goes. we'll see how it goes. I still think it'll be a great match, whatever happens anyway. I think it will be brilliant. Stephen Diggs plays for Buffalo NFL team. They were playing Jacksonville today. He lost in an 8-man tag match against the Elite. That's why Bryan has a loss, says Daniel. Jordan said, due to the FTR and Briscoe Twitter back and forth, could we see some Ring of Honor guys sooner rather than later? Don't know what the contracts are like, to be honest. I would imagine so. I mean, I'm guessing are they still being paid? They must be paid. They can't not pay them. So yeah, I'm guessing they are being paid, are they? Or are they furloughing them? And I don't know how it actually works. I know they're going they're not doing any shows until next year, but I don't know what the pay situation is like. So I'm guessing they going down basic pay, or I don't know. I mean, they're available, but again, what's the contract situation like? So it's really hard to say. It's hard. I haven't heard any or read anything on the Ring of Honor contract situation and whether they're even allowed to. I mean, I'm sure that if Tony rang up and said, "Look, can we use the Briscoes?" I can't imagine that Ring of Honor are gonna, have a big problem with it. They'll probably want to cut. They'll want some money for it, but I can't imagine they'll have a big problem with it. It's not like the Briscoes are doing anything else right now, so. But, it's an interesting one. They're not the biggest names, though. I really think that Tony Khan is looking for, or at least he should be looking for, things that are really going to move the dial. Bringing in the Briscoes, you're really catering to a very niche audience. You're catering to, the hardcore wrestling fans, but you're going to have to introduce the Briscoes to the audience, basically. The hardcore fans will know who they are, but the casuals won't. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many views Ring of Honor is getting, I think if people have been in WWE, that's one thing, but the Briscoes haven't, and Jay Lethal hasn't. They could bring them in just because they're good talents. They could bring them in to, just do something fresh and different and kind of pop their hardcore audience. But I don't think it's any more than that, to be honest. I don't know that you'll see a big thing, because I just don't think they are a big thing. I mean, they're great. I like them, but it ain't gonna move Dynamite's numbers up to where they need. Ring of Honor guys don't have non-competes, says Heather. That's the thing, Days. If Kenny does win when they face again, you will be in the same mindset. Hangman is surely winning now. Yeah, I think he wins now. Ethan says, what do you think Windham's AEW name will be? Do you think he'll be called Windham or something else? I think he'll go by... Well, it depends if he's got a split personality, doesn't it? But I would imagine Windham will be, one of the names, because that's his name. And I think that's something that he can... I mean, that's his name. So they can't take that away from him. So I think he might run with that. But I don't know if he is going to do a Fiend thing with a different personality, a different side to himself. I don't know what that will be called. If he even goes that way, we might not see that same kind of a gimmick. It might give us something different, like the Wyatt family. Do you think that many of the newly released talents will end up in AEW? It's hard to say, because my immediate answer would be no. But I don't know why they've signed Tony Nese, to be honest. I don't really understand that. I'm pleased for him. Brilliant. He's got work. I'm pleased for him. No shade. Brilliant. But I don't really get it. I can't really see it. I don't really get what he is gonna bring to AEW. And I look at some that they've cut from NXT. I don't see anything that's... I mean, Ember Moon. Ember Moon, you would think they would take. I think they need to strengthen their women's division. I think their women's division at the moment, they've got quite a bit of inexperience there. There's quite a few women that I think someone like Ember Moon, with her quality, she can wrestle. They've brought in Ruby Soho, obviously, and they brought in Thunder Rosa, and I think they just need to bring in a few more women, and I think Ember Moon would be a brilliant signing. Nia Jax is interesting, because Nia Jax, I think you could do something with Nia Jax. I mean, honestly, she's always hated her music, and I have always hated her music, but could you imagine if you presented her as a killer? I mean, just look at what they had her dressed in. Look at what they dressed. Who dresses like that? That kind of like really tight, like catsuit thing with the flaps on the side. Like, what even was that? What was that? I don't know what that was. So, I don't know what ring attire she was wearing. I mean, you can say it was very her, because I haven't seen no one else wear it. But there's probably a reason for that, because it looks pretty awful. So, she was wearing, like, I don't know, whatever. But imagine if you put her in some credible-looking attire, and you gave her some credible music, and you actually had her, like, backstage, just, like, beating people up and just, like, laying people out. And, I mean, she is big, she is imposing. She's not a great wrestler, but she doesn't really need to be. She just needs to be a safe brawler. You don't need to have her doing clotheslines and all this kind of stuff. Just have her be like, Brock. Just have her be like a safe brawler. She can brawl, but she's got to make sure that she's, being safe with the other talents. Because that's the big criticism, isn't it? Is that she botches, she's not safe, she injures people. So as long as they can kind of work with her and take those things away, like, people know who Nia Jax is. She's got a bad rep, but this would be a big refresh and a big change. And as I said, you could spend some time with her, and she's, out of everyone that's been released, she's the one that's had the most TV time. Again, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm thinking, what's going to move that dial? Like, I'm not saying that Nia Jax does. She probably does more than anyone else. Because, no, I mean, like, you didn't see much of Karrion Kross. And what you saw of Karrion Kross, he was dressed like a kinky gladiator. You didn't see much of Keith Lee on the main roster. And what you saw, it was Bearcat. So, do you know what I mean? Like, once you actually look at it and you go, well, I mean, Nia Jax has consistently been on WWE TV for, like, a good few years now. There's figures, she's in video games. Like, people will see her and know who she is. You can put her on a poster and people will go, is that Nia Jax? Is Nia Jax in AEW? Like, even the casuals would be like, is that Nia Jax? So, there might be some value there. I know people will go, no. I already know. I already know AEW fans will be like, no, I don't want Nia Jax, no. Why would we ever want Nia Jax? That's horrific. That's not what AEW is about. But my point is that she's been presented like trash. She's been presented like absolute trash. Her ring gear was trash. Her music was trash. Yes, her matches are trash, but she can be the brawler to, you've got Serena Deeb. You've got Ember Moon, or you could get Ember Moon. You've got Britt Baker. You've got women's wrestlers. Where's that big, imposing brawler, that bully? At the moment, it's Nyla Rose. Well, I think Nia Jax is bigger than Nyla Rose. She makes Nyla Rose look like a child. So, I think you could do something with Nia Jax. I think you could do something with her. So, if I was Tony, I'd be interested in Nia. I'd be interested in Ember. Of course, I'm interested in Keith and Mia and Karrion. Once you start getting down to the NXT talent, unless there's something that I really see that I'm like, yeah, I can do something there. Like a Jessie Camilla. Like, she's got a good height to her. And you might think, just need a little bit more in the women's division. You might look at that and might be tempted by that maybe. But, I don't know. It's difficult. They haven't got loads of space on the roster anymore. But who knows? I mean, who knows what conversations are happening behind the scenes? Could be conversations whereby they're going to take Rampage to 2 hours. Do you know what I mean? There might be like, this time slot doesn't work. Have you got a 2-hour time slot that's better for us? Is there any 2-hour slots that you've got? And then, like, they could take a 2-hour show and they've got a whole nother hour then. So, they could be maybe looking at something like that. Plus, also, don't forget, like, some contracts must be coming to an end. So, I mean, because next year is 3 years since Dynamite started. You know, if anyone signed a contract in 2019 for a 3-year deal, it'll expire next year. And honestly, I think that's the right way to do it. I think the right way to do it is to, you know, just let the contracts kind of run down. Obviously, say to the people, you know, 6 months to go, we're not going to be renewing your contracts. We do still want to use you, but just giving you a heads up now, 6 months. That should hopefully give you some time to, you know, figure out, you know, what you're going to do next. You know, you've got 6 months with us, and we're going to pay you, but after 6 months, we will be letting you go. That's feels like a much healthier way of doing business than just we're letting you go now because of budget cuts. So, you know, AEW have got to start thinking about how do they, you know, wind down some contracts, because there's definitely people that just they don't need on the books, and that might, who knows, that might be coming up next year. So. Vape Ross Vape said, all that trash, Nia the Dumpster Drozy. Nia the Dumpster Drozy. Esteban says, AEW needs to get Danhausen a talk show segment every week on TV whilst he's injured. He would absolutely kill it. Rise said, there's so many wrestlers that could end up elsewhere in the next few months. Bunker said, could they go to WOW? That's a good shout, actually. I mean, they're a company that have obviously just started up. I think their TV starts next year. I don't know what their budget's like. I certainly think they would want Ember Moon. Ember Moon will be in demand. B-Fab, we didn't even mention B-Fab. I mean, I feel like you could do something with B-Fab. Imagine if you put B-Fab in with the Acclaimed. You could take B-Fab and put it with the Acclaimed. I mean, that would be pretty cool. That could work well. So I'd be interested in B-Fab if I was Tony. There are people I would be interested. How do you turn down Carrion? Do you know what I mean? If you take Carrion, you got to take Scarlet. So how do you not take Carrion? How do you not take Scarlet? How do you not take B-Fab? And I'd be like, she's going in the Acclaimed. Nia splits opinion. I understand. Nia splits opinion. Depending on my budget and like how talks go with her, I would be interested, just because I'd probably take her on a short-term deal, actually. Probably wouldn't take a long-term, but I'd take her on like 12 months, something like that. And just kind of, or 6 months, and just see like how it goes. What's she like in the locker room? Is she caught us in trouble? Is there any botches? And I'd work with her. I wouldn't just throw her out there, off you go. I mean, I'd get her music, I'd get her like good ring gear, I'd build her up as a monster. I'd make sure we're working with her to make sure she's safe, put her in there with like Serena Deeb. You know, Serena Deeb, what a fantastic wrestler. Just have Serena Deeb working with Nia, and just to make her safe, not to teach her moves and everything, just to make her safe. And because I don't know what training Nia's had. They might have been working hard with Nia, but equally they might not. So yeah, there's definitely a few from those recent releases that I think would be very, very interesting, would be on my radar. More releases have been rumoured for this week. I don't think I can take any more, says Dave. Yeah, I heard this earlier about, like, hello Dave, by the way. I heard there's about 10 or something, something like that, isn't there? Another 10 to come. It's just awful, isn't it? It's just absolutely awful. The fact that we're, like, sitting here and there might be another 10 that are about to get released. Imagine if you worked for WWE right now and you're not Roman or you're not Becky, and there's rumours going around another 10 people are about to lose their jobs. I don't think AEW can take everyone. The talent they've got aren't being used like Brian Cage, says Hasib. Yeah, I mean, as I said, though, you've got next year where surely some contracts will be expiring. And, you know, if you're Tony Khan, it's a nice problem to have. It's not a bad problem to have. It's a nice problem to have. But he must have a good idea now of, like, realistically, how many people do you need? Like, you've got 2 hours here, you've got an hour there, you've got Elevation Dark, who cares? Elevation Dark, you can just fill that with whatever. But it's Rampage, it's Dynamite, yeah? So Rampage and Dynamite. How many segments you got? How many people do you need? Even if you're rotating or you've got injuries, like, he'll know how many wrestlers he's used over the past, say, 12 months. And that'll, it'll give him 2 years. Like, you can look at each year and see how many people he used and what he thinks he needs and where his roster is and when contracts are coming up. And it's really hard to sit here and go, yeah, well, I'll take this, I'll take that, I'll take this, because you need all that other info. I mean, that's how I would go about it. I would look at how many people have I used, what's the size of my roster, what's the ideal size of my roster, what areas do I think are short. If my roster is perfect apart from the women, well, then that's it. I'm just looking at the women, aren't I? Keith Lee and Carrion is hard to turn down, though, isn't it? Keith Lee and Carrion is hard to turn down. I think Carrion, in particular, is difficult to turn down. So it wouldn't surprise me if they end up going there regardless, to be honest. What if Tony Khan has got no plans to let anyone's contract run out without renewing because the wrestlers in 2019 helped build AEW? It's business. Business is business, and there's no point paying for people if you're not using them. I mean, in a way, it's not even fair on them because they're not getting TV time. Yes, they're getting paid, which, you can argue is the most important thing, but that's not going to have been the agreement that you agreed when they first came in. You know what I mean? Like, when they came to see you and you had to talk about, like, this is the vision and everything, and they were part of that vision. Well, now they're just sat in catering week after week after week. So I think, like, this is where when people go, look, it's business. I get it. I mean, I get this. It is business. And I understand that you can't just keep taking and 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 not let people go. You're going to have to do that. So, yeah, he will. He's going to have to. It's business. So, he deals with, like, NFL teams. He deals with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He deals with Fulham. Like, he is a businessman. He is a businessman. He is a savvy businessman. He's not, gonna just try and be friends with everyone and not be thinking about profit and loss. Like, he knows what he's doing. He is new to wrestling, but he's not new to profit and loss and revenue and profits and all that kind of stuff. So, I think he'll be all right in that front. What's the match you're looking forward to the most, says Daniel? I am probably looking forward to Bryan Danielson versus Miro. Bryan Danielson versus Miro because Bryan Danielson matches at the moment I think are absolutely off the charts. I think Miro is I'm pleased. I mean, he wouldn't have been on this card, I don't think. So I'm really pleased that he's managed to get onto this card. So, Bryan Danielson versus Miro. I'm not quite sure which way it goes. I mean, my gut feeling is they go with Bryan Danielson, but I've actually picked Miro because, as I said, I think this will be the Hangman moment. And then do you do Bryan Danielson Hangman? I mean, is one of your first matches going to be to split the crowd? Because the crowd love Bryan Danielson, but the crowd love Hangman. So are you going to split them and do dueling chants? I don't know. I know Cody said there won't be heels and faces, but there are. And I think that they might pull a swerve and go with Miro. The plan might have been to have gone with Moxley. So, but I can't quite get a read of it. I think it's quite difficult. So, that one. Feel free to let me know any of your thoughts on any of the matches or Windham or the WWE releases. We've already stuck around about 25 minutes longer than I anticipated, but that's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. I'm quite happy to sit here and talk about these things. We are going to be doing the show, of course, next weekend. I was just starting to do my schedule, actually, and it's pretty packed, actually. I've said I'm going to do, like, some Cricket World Cups on at the moment, so I've got a couple of cricket things that we're doing. There's some England games that I'm doing. There's UFC next weekend that I'm doing. There's AEW Full Gear that I'm doing. So there's just quite a lot of things that I'm doing. But we are doing this as well, of course. And yeah, I'm quite happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Donna Khan, when Nia comes back, is she going to Impact or AEW? I mean, I don't know where she's going. I don't even know if she knows where she's going at the moment. Zero said, I'm not for this, but maybe Hangman is so confident because he has the Superkliq in his back pocket. I doubt that's where it's going, but it is just a thought. Well, put it out there. It's an interesting thought. Jose said, is Full Gear free? No, it's a proper pay-per-view. They only have like so many a year, don't they? And I think was the last one All Out. So now it's Full Gear. This might even be the last one of the year, actually, thinking about it. I don't know if there's another one before the end of the year. Miro versus Bryan is probably the one I'm looking forward to, too, says Austin. Could Miro be replaced if he gets attacked, says BDB. I don't think they'll do that, just because I don't think they'll do that. I mean, I suppose they could. If Moxley was going to be attacked, then, you know, Miro is just playing the role of Moxley now. So if the plan was to attack Miro and replace Moxley, then I suppose they could attack... if the plan was to attack Moxley, then they could just attack Miro instead, because he's playing that role. But, I don't know, starts to get a bit messy, doesn't it? So, I'm not sure they'll go that way. Graham said Scarlett posted a tweet after being released from WWE saying the Smoke Show was returning soon. That was a segment from Impact. Might suggest they're both returning to Impact. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult because, I mean, like, Impact's getting pretty full, I think. They've been taking people. So, I don't know. I mean, Ring of Honor is closed. MLW, I never really hear about many people going there. People do. TJP's been there, and I think Harry Smith's been there. But I don't know how, really, if they're taking in. AEW's been taking a lot. NWA, maybe, but I don't think they've got much of a budget to take many people. So, some could end up in Impact, absolutely. Big Time Baxter, do you think WWE's game plan is bloating AEW's roster and budget? Because there were articles saying WWE officials believe Tony will lose a lot of money in the long term. Yes and no. I think that is a strategy. Definitely. I think that is a strategy. I think that WWE probably know what they're doing to a degree. I think they are working to some sort of plan, even though it seems like madness to us. Like, the bigger picture could be, you know, that we've spoke about it on the channel, that the way the releases are happening, rather than just putting everyone out there in one go and Tony just going, I'll have them, I'll have them, I'll have them. It's like, do you want this person? Oh, now this one's available. Oh, how about this person? And so Tony is kind of being forced to take more than he maybe would take. And, yeah, I think there is definitely a plan to bloat AEW, if you will. But I don't think that's why they're doing these releases. I think big part of is the fact that they've spent too much money. I think they have genuinely locked down too many people to too many contracts, and they've bloated themselves. So I think it's kind of, you know, the reason for releasing people is, you know, a few different reasons. I mean, we're even hearing that some of the releases might have been because some brackets 4 were not vaccinated, but I don't want to go down all that road again. But Nia said that, you know, she was never spoken to about her vaccination status, and she was one that was believed to not be vaccinated. So if she was to go somewhere, you'd think they would request that she does get vaccinated. You would think. So that's something that she's probably going to have to address anyway. Nia needs to wear the Rikishi outfit and show the cheeks. Back that thing up. I would be happy to take the stink face, says Shredder Blade. Could anyone go to New Japan? New Japan don't have women, but Shimmer do. That means moving to Japan, though. New Japan are based in America as well. Is it New Japan Strong? But I don't know really what the roster is like there, and I wouldn't think they've got like that much money that they're spending on it. So, could people go to New Japan? Sure. Do I think they will? Not really. I mean, someone like a Trey Baxter, who's young, could maybe go. You know, if he fancied it and they liked him, they thought he was young and they could do something with him. But I mean, like, Nia's obviously not going, and I don't think Carrion's going to move over there with Scarlett or whatnot. So I don't think so. It's a good shout. It's a good shout because there are a few options, and someone could end up over there. I mean, do you remember when CJ Parker got released? He went off and became, I think I'm right in saying, Juice Robinson. He used to be in NXT, so we have seen it happen. Can we acknowledge that Kamaru Usman as the head of the table after last night? I mean, I think that fight was way closer than I thought it was going to be. I'm really quite surprised at how close that fight was. I thought he was going to smoke Colby Covington. I thought Usman had leveled up, but it seems like Colby's, chin, his desire, his heart, I think Colby is leveled up as well, in all fairness. So, yeah, I mean, it was an amazing night, wasn't it? It was absolutely brilliant, and one that will live long in the memory. But Thug Rose is head of the table. Let's never get that confused. New Japan Strong is based out of LA, says Heather. Daniel said Kenta won the IWGP US title the other day and called CM Punk out in an interview after and returned to the US today. Could you see him showing up after Punk's match? He's already been on Dynamite. Could I see that? Could I see that? Yes, I could see that. We know they've got that relationship with New Japan. And as you said, Kenta has already been on. And I think it's something Kenta would be interested in doing. It's a match that Kenta would want. Kenta obviously has got the GTS. He's been using the GTS. Kenta, am I right in saying, invented the GTS? I've got a feeling Kenta invented it and CM Punk not took it. I think he got permission. It's a match that needs to happen. It needs to happen. GTS versus GTS. It'd be amazing. That would be amazing. That's a really, really good shout. It's a really good shout. I really like that. So, yes, I think there is a good chance of that. Evan says, AEW had a pay-per-view on one episode, and it was called Winter is Coming. It was all around December, and Sting made his debut then. Austin said, Britt versus Rosa to main event AEW's next big pay-per-view, please. Rashawn said, where do you think Keith Lee is going to go next? Well, I mean, I do wonder if Keith Lee's health is a problem because obviously he missed a lot of this year. He is back now and competing as like Bearcat, but I wonder if WWE have looked at it and gone, it just doesn't look great. Like, we can't invest in this guy as much as we thought we could because his health is, I don't want to say in decline, but is not where we would want it to be. I don't know. I don't know where his health is. He's cleared. I mean, he's been wrestling. We know that much. So it's hard to know why they would part ways with Keith Lee because he's got everything. I mean, like, he can cut promos. He's got a good size to him. I said out loud before, I wonder if weight was an issue. I wonder if, like, they asked Bray to lose weight many times, and I would say Keith Lee is bigger than Bray. So maybe they've asked Keith Lee to lose weight repeatedly, and he's not getting down to the weight they want him to be. And Vince has gone, look, unless you can get your weight under control, we can't move forward. So it's really hard to know what goes on behind the scenes. It's really hard to know. Like, there was reports that he kept kicking back against creative, which I understand. I really do. It's a real fine line, isn't it? Because you can't just say yes to everything. I mean, like, I read a thing with Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes Martinez said, like, she wanted to be told more about what Retribution was before she did it, because she wanted to know how it would affect her legacy and her career, and, like, how people viewed her. And one of the things, she wasn't told anything, and when she actually got to the main roster, they put a mask on her, and she was like, well, this is okay, I wear a mask for an entrance, but they wanted her to wrestle in the mask, and she was like, I can't, I'm asthmatic, like, I struggle breathing, and, like, if you put a mask on me, that's going to make it even worse. But there'd been no dialogue or conversation, or she literally found out as they gave her the mask. Like, the whole Retribution thing was like, they had an idea and they needed wrestlers for it. And it's such a weird way of doing it. Like, I've got this idea and I need this wrestler for it. Now, it can work because Vince had the idea for The Undertaker and he just never had the wrestler for it until Mean Mark Callis came along. And he was like, that's The Undertaker. And actually, Undertaker has said before, he picked up the phone to Vince, and Vince was like, hello, is that The Undertaker? And, like, he's like, yes. And that's, how it came to be. Vince knew that he had this character, he just needed the guy to play it. And, like, it's crazy to think that they had this Retribution gimmick, and they just handpicked a few NXT stars and chucked them in it, and there was very little communication. So I do feel really, really sorry for him. So I can understand Keith Lee kicking back against creative, because, I mean, you've got to sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Mercedes Martinez did. She kicked back against it, said, I don't want to do this. Ended up going back to NXT and then got released. It seems like WWE, you've just got to take what you get in WWE. If you are going to kick back, you've got to do it in a really political way. I see what you're doing here, but what about if we try this kind of a thing? If you just turn around and go, this is trash and I'm not doing it. They don't like that. They don't seem to like that at all. So, yeah, I feel sorry for Keith Lee. Where will he end up? I don't know is the answer, because I don't know I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know about his health. I don't know about his attitude. I don't know. I just don't know. If he's all good, then he could go anywhere. I mean, why would AEW not take him? Why would they not take him? He's big, impressive. He moves. He's had incredible matches. His matches against Dominik Dijakovic were... WWE has got to be one of the only companies in the world that could take two amazing wrestlers, right? Wrestler, amazing. Put them together where they have amazing matches. Dominik Dijakovic, Keith Lee, yeah? In NXT, those matches are insane. Those matches are brilliant. They are classics. They faced each other on the indies. Classics. WWE brought them in, yeah? Fine. They had matches in WWE down in NXT. Brilliant. So far, we've not botched anything, right? So far, we're doing well. And then we bring them up to the main roster. We turn one into Bearcat, right? And upset him with bad creative. Not that Bearcat was, I mean, all right, at first you roll your eyes, but then, right, okay, it calls back to, the first African-American champion, blah, 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 blah. So we go with, like, the Bearcat thing. And then the other one, we turn into T-Bar, and we don't make them have, like, the amazing matches anymore. We just, like, completely take them away from how amazing they were. Just, like, force them to do something awful. So, yeah, I feel so sorry for them. I feel so sorry for them. I mean, if you was a wrestler now, if you was a serious wrestler and you cared about wrestling and you cared about having great matches and everything, you wouldn't touch WWE. Why would you go to WWE? You'd be going for the money, for the exposure, but you also need to know that you could be fired at any point. You need to know that now. If you're signing a contract with WWE, you need to know at any point it could be budget cuts. You need to know that. And the other thing as well is that you're going to be made to do whatever they want you to do. They'll have some gimmicks, and You just better hope you like them. You just better hope you like it and that you enjoy your time there. I would imagine that job satisfaction is pretty low in WWE. I'd imagine when you wake up in the morning and it's like time to go to work, I can't imagine there's too many that do it with the spring in their step. I'd imagine there's a few of them that are probably like, you know what I mean, it's a bit of a chore to get out of bed. Doing a gimmick that you really don't want to do, that you don't enjoy. Being like creatively stifled and frustrated, and I feel sorry for him, man. So it's hard to say he's got a bad attitude after saying all of that, you know. I totally get where he's coming from. Days is too good for Thunder Rosa. How the worm has turned. Dave, shout out to you. Days, if you keep ignoring Thunder Rosa, Thug Rose. What do you mean if you keep ignoring Thunder Rosa? Brian Rosa. Oh, hello. Sorry. I didn't see Brian Rosa. Brian Rosa, how are you? Hope you are well. Thunder Rosa, hello. How are you? Hello. Sorry. I see you now. I see you now. I was going off on a rant about how WWE badly treats its talent. It's a good time to stop by. I hope you are well. You're doing amazing in AEW, and we are rooting for you to go on to even bigger and better things. So appreciate you stopping by. Barbie, blah, 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 blah. Is it me or does your camera keep blurring? It does keep blurring. Yes, it does keep coming in and out of focus. Days, don't you find it all well-planned scheme from Vince and his yes men stooges? The common denominator is Triple H hiring all of the NXT guys, all getting releases, and Triple H is still MIA. Hang on, what? Days, don't you find this all a well-planned scheme from Vince and his yes-man stooges? The common denominator is Triple H hiring all of his NXT guys, all getting released, and Triple H is still MIA. I don't know, dude. I wouldn't read too much into that. I don't think this is like a conspiracy against Triple H. I just think I just think that Vince has not been paying much attention to NXT, to be honest. I know they say that he does and that he's down there quite a bit, but I mean, it's one thing to go down and have a look at what's going on and, you know, put the headset on and chat to a few things. It's a whole other thing to actually care and actually, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, well, that's Triple H's. When they come up, we'll do what we want with them. You know, yeah, you do what you want. It kind of comes across that way. Whereas now, I think Triple H, you know, obviously has had illnesses and obviously wish him a speedy recovery. But, yeah, I think it's kind of like Vince now is maybe paying a bit more attention, and he's like, maybe there's just been people coming up consistently, and he's like just getting a bit tired of changing them. And it's like, why don't we just have NXT get them ready, and they just come up and we don't have to change them? So I don't know that there's like this conspiracy against Triple H. Wow. I saw a message sort of greeted. I didn't see. I genuinely didn't see. So you know, I do greatly apologise to Thunder Rosa, who we love. We love on this chat. She knows we love her. It's no problems. She knows that we love Brian Rosa is a legend on this channel. Thunder Rosa knows that we love her. It's all gravy. It's all gravy. There's no way of beating that, though, is there? There's no way of beating that, of having, Thunder Rosa around. So, I suppose we can wrap this thing up. It's all WWE's fault. Do you know what? I'm blaming WWE. If I hadn't gone on such a hardcore rant about how WWE is misusing their talent, then I would have noticed in the chat, wouldn't I? So, blame Days. You know, fine. I'll take it. I'll take the blame. Right, guys. Anyway, we're done. I appreciate the support. We stayed way longer than I thought. I was only going to be here for an hour. We've done an hour and 45. So I'm glad that we got the I'm glad that we got the predictions out the way. And then we've had a good conversation about things. We've touched on Windham. We've touched on loads of different matches and outcomes and theories and all that kind of stuff. So, I think we've covered everything. So, appreciate the support. We are back again tomorrow for Raw. And Fate Ross Fate, I'm going to read this. Days, can you back you where saying how great Britt is? Can you back you where saying how great Britt is? What do you mean, bud? Can you back you where saying... Is it can you go back to when you were saying how great Britt is? Yeah, I like Britt Baker. I think I like the women's division in AEW. We were talking about that earlier. I said that it might need a bit more in it. And, if you've got people like Ember Moon around, and you've got people like, Ember Moon, I made the argument for Nia Jax. I think she brings something. But I rate Britt Baker. I think Britt Baker's a great champion. I think she's one of the best people they've built up that's like an AEW own, It's good. It's really good stuff. So, I like her. Get ready next week. We'll have Sammy on, and he'll get ignored whilst we rant about WWE. Hey, listen, look, if you're gonna get ignored, whilst you're on the stream, at least it was because I was like laying into the competition. So, gotta take that as a positive. Do you know what I mean? Gotta take that as a positive. So, awesome, guys. Appreciate the support. Thanks a lot for watching, and hopefully, see you again. Hang on. I'm so desperate to go here, but let's just read out this result. We are going, yeah? Do you think Windham debuts at AEW Full Gear? Yes, 64%. No, 36%. So we might as well end that poll now. So, yes, 64%. No, 36%. So, there we go. We've got the poll results as well. Awesome, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.